There are few foods simpler or more beloved than grilled cheese. Bread, butter, cheese. But like most simple things, the magic isn't in the ingredients, it's in how it's done. In Portland, Maine, a place known for taking its food seriously, a small grilled cheese truck started drawing a crowd. Cheese Louise began the way a lot of great businesses do, not with a grand plan, but as a summer job. Just a food truck, a flat top, and a handful of sandwiches. But somewhere along the way, that little truck turned into something bigger. More trucks, brick-and-mortar restaurants, and a loyal following across New England. What makes this story especially interesting to me is that the people behind it all come from a town just over the state line from where I grew up, in North Conway, New Hampshire, a small ski town nestled in the heart of the White Mountains. So how does a grilled cheese truck turn into a growing restaurant brand? What decisions shape that kind of growth, and what does it take to keep it going? Today, I'm in the Old Port in Portland, Maine, with co-founder Bryce Harrison to hear how a simple grilled cheese truck turned into one of New England's favorite comfort food spots. I'm Nick Landano, and this is Rooted. Bryce Harrison, Cheese Louise. I remember following this from way back when. I remember it was like in college or something when you guys opened up the food truck in North Conway. Was the plan to go from summer food truck to multiple locations, or did you think it was just going to be like a fun summer activity with you and the guys?
I really think of our early years as us being quite opportunistic in the sense that there wasn't a grand plan, you know? Yeah. It was, we'd like to work together. Yeah. What's a way we can do that in 3-4 months while we're home from school in a mountain tourist town? Yeah. You know, how can we do something that's semi-permanent? A food truck kind of fit the bill for what a business that we realistically could start in college. So that was opportunity one. You know, none of us had extensive culinary backgrounds. Always loved eating out, but it was never, none of us were like trained. Yeah. And so we felt like we could nail grilled cheese because at the end of the day, like what you need is good ingredients and then a good process. And that was something we felt like we could nail. So I think even from the beginning, while there wasn't a plan to do, to build a Cheese Louise empire, there was something that was, we need to be the best at this. If we're gonna do it, this can't just be another of something that already exists or, a cute version of X. It had to be somewhat original and the best in class.
Especially early on, and probably still now, like when you guys were getting all of your materials, it was like, since you were in North Conway, it was local bread, local cheese, like all of the ingredients too, right?
Yeah, it was, our favorite bakery, Old Village Bakery. We, and they're not a commercial bakery. We go in and we're like, hey, can you make bread? We really like this English toasting bread. Can you make 10 loaves a week? And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. And then there's the Tuscan pane bread that we loved at Trader Joe's. So we're going down, we're calling Trader Joe's, hey, do you mind if we order, a case of that bread from y'all? And for the first 2 years, I was driving down, filling my, Toyota with boxes of Trader Joe's bread. I'd go in like the service entrance where the trucks would deliver, and they'd load me up, and I'd leave them a check. It was this weird, mishmash of like sourcing from some traditional suppliers, local suppliers, and then Trader Joe's.
That's a little bit of behind the scenes, because I imagine that's not the case now that you're pulling up with your pickup truck and getting Trader Joe's bread. But so really kind of scrappy to begin with in terms of like the ingredients and the process. So I feel like everyone just always wants to know the origin story of like the name, right? Like anytime I'm walking down the street, you always just hear people say, hey, Cheese Louise.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, starting out, we had no idea how lucky we got. Honestly, the name was like one of my partners, his roommate came up with it. Fox Winters. Because we were going through names. I think we were kind of locked into like, oh, it needs to be punny and around a food truck. So it was like Wheels of Cheese, Cheese on Wheels. Oh, okay. Then at one point, this guy Fox was like, what do you call that Cheese Louise? And we were like, oh yeah, that sounds great. I think maybe part of us is like, we need to pick a name and just go for it. Yeah. And that's the best one we've got. And then only later did we realize, I think, how lucky we got with that name.
That's really interesting that like, yeah, after the fact, it didn't even like click with you. That's like, this is going to be a home run, but you're just sitting around in the room and you're like, okay, let's go with it. That works.
It really was kind of simple as that.
When you guys were running the food truck in Conway, was there a certain day or like event or anything where you started to think, wow, this could really work and we're moving a lot faster than we ever thought we would be?
Yeah, there is a moment. And it was, we show up to this festival. To that point, we had, like you said, like we started, in the bank parking lot because, when we went in to set up our business account, the guy was like, oh, this would be a great place for a food truck. And we're like, wow, yeah, that would be. Can we do it? And he was like, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And, it was good. It was good, steady business. We had people coming back. It was right on the main drag in town. So people were just stopping in. But the first moment where, you look out the truck window and there's a line forming and it's just getting bigger. We're at this festival. It's a music festival. I think Ospey Valley Music Festival. Okay. We realized like, whoa, people, A, will line up for this. And then B, we're able to move this line.
Yeah, keep up with the demand as they were going and crank out product.
We're looking down the row, right, and there are other food trucks there, and they're slowly moving their line. Their ticket times are getting to 30 minutes. People are kind of getting frustrated, and we're, the sandwiches are coming out. People are happy. We're moving the line consistently, and you're looking around and you're like, whoa, there's something here. As long as we can be in a place where there are people, this is A, something people want, and B, something we can deliver on repeatedly at scale.
That's awesome. I don't know. I feel like just seeing that proof of concept must have been light bulbs going off. Because with the food truck, you guys obviously then opened up the commissary. Right. So that was like first physical location.
Yeah. Right? We opened that primarily to supply our food trucks. Okay. And then when COVID hit, our food truck business, so our second year in business, we did a lot more of those festivals. We bought a second food truck, outfitted it specifically to do big volume festivals, and booked as many as we could. Okay. And then we were planning to do that our third year. We had, figured out which festivals hit, which didn't. We booked some more, and that was the game plan. This was kind of we're gonna make money this year, we're really gonna do it. Yeah. And COVID wiped out any potential for that. All the festivals canceled, any of our weddings canceled. We had no business on the books. And we'd already hired a whole team preemptively, expecting a lot of business. In that moment, we said, okay, look, what can we do? And we had this commissary kitchen. It was on the Kangamagis Highway, huge tourist route. So it was just realizing maybe there's an opportunity to transform this concept into a permanent brick and mortar location. Put up a bunch of outside tables. I think we built the restaurant out for less than $10,000. We're going to scrap yards to get materials. James, one of my partners, the craftiest guy, he really could build something beautiful for 10 grand. Yeah. And so, we're out there pounding fences into the ground to make the seating look nice, all with the hope that people would show up to this roadside grilled cheese shack during a global pandemic. It sounds crazy to say it even, but what else were we going to do, I guess, Yeah,
if you're already at home right. And you're like, okay, well, we don't have the food truck right now, so
yeah, we got to do something.
We can make work. In that case, I know this is a big value for you guys, putting the team first. Yeah. So it seems like really early on that showed up.
Yeah, there were definitely, I don't know if we really put that value on paper at that point, but I think it really resonated that there is something there. There is a greater responsibility as an employer, right, to take care of the people that are giving you their time and trusting you with that potential. And yeah, I think that summer was that. I was like, well, we kind of owe it to these people to at least give it our best go. And if it doesn't work, at least we can know we tried. And that's something I could feel good about. So we open up, and it's a little slow at first, and then quickly the word spreads that there's this there's this weird grilled cheese place that opened on the Kank, So it's a weird time. It's COVID. People are looking for something to do. Everyone's at home. Gas is cheap. So we had people driving up from Rhode Island that had us at music festivals. We're asking, hey, what are you guys up here for? Oh, just this. You're gonna drive back to Rhode Island after lunch? Yeah, probably. We might stop, down in Portsmouth or something on the way back. Who knows? I'm like, whoa, this is crazy, And I think that starts to get the balls rolling in our mind of, okay, maybe Cheese Louise as a restaurant concept actually works, and maybe the future isn't just build a fleet of food trucks or figure out how to turn food trucks into a post-college job, but maybe restaurants work.
Having seen the success of the commissary, was there also that moment or that discussion with the team, you and all the founders, of we want to move into the big leagues? We're here in Portland. This was your first real full-time physical location. You're right in the downtown in the Old Port. What made you say this is the next move?
So yeah, we're kind of wrapping up that summer, and we were speaking in summers at that point because we were all still in college. We were going into our last year at college. I think until that point it was unclear as to whether we would even continue this business after college. We all were getting degrees, we had careers, we had people telling us, well, this is cute, but you're gonna go, both my partners were getting engineering degrees.
Yeah.
And
you're making grilled cheeses in the summer.
And they're saying, hey, I got my uncle calling me and asking me, when am I gonna get a real job? And maybe he wasn't wrong for that. That was the safe bet. It was a great time to go into computer engineering.
Yeah.
But I think it was at the end of that summer that we're really thinking about this as, do we want to do this after school? If so, what does that look like and where are we doing it? So what we wanted to do was build a proper fast casual grilled cheese restaurant that people would want to visit. And then where? I think all of us wanted to get out of our hometown, or at least experience something else, and in a way, compete on the most competitive stage we could imagine.
Portland, the food city.
Right, and at the time, certainly, I feel like 2010 to 2020, Portland was it was still in its now it's quite established as the food city, but there was so many new things happening. And so looking at Portland, we were like, okay, well, if our concept can succeed there, it could work anywhere.
Yeah.
This was the other thing. There wasn't a lot of people trying to get in and start a restaurant mid-COVID, so there was a unique opportunity for 3 21-year-olds to be given a shot to take on a great lease in the middle of the Old Port.
I mean, this is an iconic corner.
With no personal guarantees, no real capital. And so that's how this restaurant came to be. I mean, we were literally sleeping on the floor, right where we're sitting here.
Really? Oh yeah, that's a great origin story.
Yeah, we put paper up in all the windows and we said, great, we've got at the very least, we've got a free apartment for the next 3 months to try to turn this into a restaurant. That's kind of at a point in COVID where things were starting to lift a little bit. The atmosphere was getting a little lighter. People were out in the streets. I think everyone was still wearing masks, but dining was starting to come back on. I think it was even a month before we opened that they actually started allowing people to dine in restaurants.
Yeah, so again, really the timeline is perfect.
We got so lucky.
Yeah.
There's so many moments of that throughout our story of just, wow, things happened at the right time in the right place and we just happened to be there. It's the stars aligning over and over again is really part of how we've gotten to where we've gotten to.
I feel like we've talked about a lot of grilled cheese. How about we maybe go back and make one? I don't know. I mean, I think that might be the move next.
I think we should do it.
Okay, sweet. Let's go. Sweet. Right on, man. What is the staple sandwich that will be thrown together to here Food Network style?
Right, we're gonna do the Vermonters. This is by far our most popular sandwich. It's also our most classic grilled cheese sandwich. Right, one honest critique of Cheese Louise is that we actually only have one grilled cheese on the menu. When you look at online, what is a grilled cheese? It has to be just cheese and bread. And there are some critics out there that will say as soon as you start putting other stuff, it's a panini. But
okay. Yeah,
we call them all. Yeah, it's a big debate in the grilled cheese community. But for all intents and purposes, they're all grilled cheeses.
Yeah, the honest and true grilled cheese here.
So we'll take out some bread. So this is sourdough. We actually had this recipe custom made for us. And cheese-wise, from day one, we've always been using Cabot cheddar. And then an interesting cheese choice that we've also had from the beginning is Munster. So original menu building process was just buy everything we could find in Hannaford, Shaw's, Market Basket, every single variety of cheese, build as many different varieties of sandwiches and then invite all our friends over, drink some beers, and just have everybody try everything. And one of the most commonly enjoyed cheeses was actually this Munster, which I had never heard of prior to starting Cheese Louise.
Munster I think might be one of my favorites. And I mentioned earlier, again off camera, but like the cheese pull on Munster is going to be phenomenal for the camera.
It's exactly that, right? It's like, it's not a overwhelming flavor. Like the cheddar is the flavor and the Munster's that texture, that cheese pull texture. So they combine really well.
Oh yeah.
So each sandwich gets 4 slices of cheese. So 2 cheddar and then 2 Munster.
Okay.
And you just layer them right on top.
So in terms of butter, you know, that's always a classic. No butter on the inside. We're doing butter outside here.
So once you've got the sandwich assembled, you actually take, and this is kind of fun. For years, we used just mayo, so no butter at all.
Oh, okay. And that gave it like a good browning.
The reason we did that was, we got some advice. Again, this was part of our testing. We tried butter, we tried mayo, but recently, actually, this is a relatively new evolution in the Cheese Louise product. We took mayo and then ghee, mixed those together, you know.
And so do you have your own custom thing here?
So this is a unique blend of essentially mayo and butter.
Interesting. Okay, so this is some behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Should I throw one together too so we can both get a nice pull after? I feel like I'll get a little spread.
You saw how it was done. I think you can figure it out.
Yeah, it seems like the basic one. You know, that's within my wheelhouse. I'm not much of a cook, but I'd say I can throw some cheese on bread.
Look at that. You're ready to jump on the line.
Okay.
Set that up.
Throw that on there. And she's looking good.
What's interesting is because we use the panini presses, we actually only butter, or mayo butter, the top of the sandwich.
Okay.
The reason is that the mayo actually kind of melts off of the sandwich. And so the bottom of those panini presses are almost always pretty well oiled and mayoed.
Okay.
And it's really just the top of that sandwich that you need to, throw some mayo onto.
Huh. Yeah, so it's like someone getting a sandwich at the end of the day has like a real flavorful blast of the mayo butter combo.
And they're cast iron, so like, you know, if you've cooked with cast iron, it's that like really well seasoned cast iron griddle.
Oh yeah.
The flavor, I mean, it's awesome.
You just don't want it fully clean, just straight.
Exactly. Yeah. You're never washing these, you're just cleaning them, you know? So this is another interesting thing. Normally when you get a panini press, this top goes all the way down to the bottom, but to ensure that we're never over pressing the sandwiches, we actually build these brackets onto the outside of the grill at the exact height that you want the sandwiches to be. So every sandwich is equally thick. You know, it makes sure that, like, again, it's like when you do 10,000 sandwiches in a week, you need every single one to be quality. And
quality control. It's just that things you wouldn't even think about if you weren't in the business.
Right? Yeah, like day one, we didn't have that problem because we were making every single one. That's exactly what you're looking for here. Is a little bit of cheese coming out on the outsides, you know, and if we want to get that cheese pull, here's a little secret for people following home. If I pulled this sandwich apart right now, you wouldn't get a cheese pull because I just cut through that cheese.
Yeah.
So you let it sit, right?
Okay.
So cut yours, you let it blend back together.
Okay. So
and you just kind of push it back together. Yep.
Okay.
Give it like another 30 seconds, right?
Yeah,
so
really let it
if you ever want to impress someone with a cheese pull, the key is in patience, right? You cut it, you wait, and then that's when you give it the pull.
Oh, okay. There we go. Yeah. Now that's the pull. Let's see.
So let's see how we did.
See if I can replicate it here.
Pretty good. Look at that.
It's a little thin, but I'd say that works. That's going tall. Let's go tall.
Yeah. You got the length there.
We got length. So I mean, that looks great. That looks like a great sandwich.
And so that's the Vermonter. That's our most popular sandwich. I'm always surprised. Like when I eat one of these, I've had a million of these, right? Yeah. But then I get one of these, I'm like, oh yeah, this actually slaps.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, well, especially, you know, you gotta know that you still enjoy it when you're getting flack for being a panini. You know, you can't let that keep sliding.
You know, this is an interesting addition. So this is the Cheese Louise secret sauce. Here we go.
Usually just go right in.
I dip that right in there. All right, cheers, dude.
Cheers.
Yep.
That's a great grilled cheese. Oh, that is.
Yeah. Crispy.
just enough, like you said, the cheese pull texture, you know, it's all there. I'm no connoisseur, but grilled cheese, I can say this is pretty dope. Looking back on what you've done so far, I mean, maybe to get into, you know, what you've built, like, what are you most proud of? I mean, the community is incredible, but like, is there some other stuff that you'd say is like, this has been like a pivotal point for us?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that I'm proud of. I'm really proud of, you know, our team for sticking with it, for the brand that we've developed. I think some of it has been really lucky and some of it has been intentional. Yeah. But I think if there's like one thing that I feel particularly proud of, and you mentioned it earlier, like we have a very defined mission at this point. You know, the way that we say it is like, we want to build the most people-focused restaurant company we can imagine. What that means at its core is like taking care of our team first, making sure that their needs are met. You know, for me, when I think of like, what are the needs of somebody working at Cheese Louise? Obviously they need to get paid well. So we make sure at any time, like, our team is making a living wage. You know, it's well above kind of the industry average for like fast casual. That's hard to do, especially in really seasonal markets. So I think it's the hard things that you often feel more proud of, right? Like, and that's been hard over the years. You know, there's certainly been times where we're looking, we're like, shit, like, you know, it's a lot of money that we have to pay, right? And like, moments where you question, is this the right thing to do? Is there a reason everyone else doesn't pay as much as we do? Yeah,
sort of the understanding of the industry in a way, like how you said you wanted to break away from it, create like your own view of this industry. But I mean, it still seems like you guys have been able to do it. And like you said, if you have good people working for you and they're happy, then like the product and the brand is even stronger.
And that's exactly it. So like when we say, you know, the most people-focused restaurant, it's not just about the team.
Yeah.
That's where it starts, right? Like, you've got to take care of them. You've got to make sure they're well paid, they're safe, they feel safe and secure at work, and they feel like they have room and opportunity to grow and express themselves. Like, when you feel like you're, you know, working and striving towards that mission, then you can begin to focus on the next set of people, which are our guests. And when our team is taken care of, when they're happy, when they're excited to come into work, you can see it. When you walk in the door and that person is making eye contact, they're smiling, they're welcoming you in, you know that person feels happy to be here, so then you're happy to be here.
Yeah.
I think when we are striving and working towards that mission, that's how our guests feel when they come in. And so they feel taken care of, right? They feel welcomed. That person's keen to make them the best grilled cheese they've ever had. Yeah. And so when our guests feel taken care of, they keep coming back, right? They take care of the business. That's how the business works. We need our guests to come in once, and then we need them to come in again and again and again. And that's what allows us to succeed as a business, which then allows us to reinvest into our team. And it's a really virtuous cycle. I hope, if anything, like what Cheese Louise can demonstrate to other people, especially in the restaurant industry, is you can focus on your team first and you can take care of people and still make good money doing it. I think that's often the question other restaurant owners or more traditional like restaurant industry folk will ask is, well, that's great and all, but do you guys make any money?
Yeah.
It seems like there's no way you can make money doing it that way. And so being able to show them, look, here's our numbers. We're doing better than most restaurants in the industry while doing this, you know, I think can really drive home the point that not only is this good for people, but it's good for business. And like, that's the win-win we're looking for.
Like, it just shows that, you know, with the right vision and the right execution, especially across your team, like you are able to make it happen. And clearly it's been a success. Yeah. But looking forward, I guess, whatever you're allowed to share, what are the next moves for Cheese Louise?
You know, it's really interesting, right? Like, this has actually been recently a big conversation for us. You know, after Portsmouth, we opened another restaurant in North Conway, and that's actually been our most successful restaurant yet. And it's a little bit bigger. And I think with 3 restaurants, you know, we've built a business that we could look at and say, this is good. Mm-hmm. This could take care of us, you know, and give us maybe the lifestyle that we might want to live. And as long as we focus on keeping it solid and keeping it running, like we don't need to grow anymore. It's not sure, we're only a few years into being in that place. But I think realizing that has, it's really made us ask this question of what is next? Like, do we need to keep growing? Do we want to keep growing? And if so, why? I really want Cheese Louise to demonstrate to the industry that you can do things a little bit different and still succeed and grow. And I feel as though, especially to a lot of the people on our team, I want this to be a place where they see opportunity to grow. And that's a motivating part of working here. I myself, I like the challenge. Yeah. Like I'm the type of person that, at 28, imagining just sitting back and,
coasting on
counting the money at the end of the year and saying that's pretty good. I got gas in the tank. I just personally have more. I've got more I want to do in the world, and I think I see Cheese Louise as a really great vehicle to get there. We're looking at what's next, and I think where we go next is going to be focused, whether it's franchising or company owned. I think we're not sure. This is probably the biggest question that we need to answer in the next 6 months is what does growth look like and how do we do it? I'm curious. Do you know anything about it? What do you think?
No, I think that's a really great point to be at. It's a similar point where I'm at with my business, but I think that, to be in a spot where you guys can say, okay, we're comfortable, we can bring home enough, we can ensure that our team is, like, all of their needs are being met.
Yeah.
Now, how do we either grow or stay the same? And I do think that, us both being young guys, like you said, gas in the tank. You kind of want to see things grow. You want the brand to impact the industry. It seems like that is the natural next step, but it's nice to be in that position where you don't need to feel the pressure of being like, we need another restaurant or else this restaurant's going to fail.
Exactly.
To cross support. But it seems like you guys are taking the right approach. And if 2026 is that year of clarity, at least know where things are going for the next few years. Because you guys went quick. All things considered, it hasn't been that long.
No, really, we're coming up on 5 years at this restaurant.
Yeah.
And, that's, for a lot of restaurants, that's their payback period. They maybe expect to make their return on investment over 5 years.
Wow, really? That's the number that they look for?
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, so you guys were able to sort of bootstrap and stay lean enough to make it work.
Yeah, and I think we opened this restaurant for $50,000.
Oh, well,
which
on the floor helps.
And it's super. And compared to our most recent restaurant, I think that was closer to $400,000.
Oh, so that was a full build out.
That was a full build out. This was, but the payback period for this restaurant was 3 months. We have moved really quickly, and I think we've kept our costs really low such that we can be in the position that we're in.
Yeah, that's a great position to be in, especially when you're thinking about it this year. If you're able to keep everyone's needs met and focus on your values and the goals through the business and still have that room to say, well, we can still make this work.
Yeah.
That's probably the best position you could ask for.
Yeah, it feels... we feel really lucky.
Yeah.
Like, we feel blessed to be able to be in the position we are now. And one of the things we haven't really touched on, but my two partners are two of my best friends.
Yeah.
We have a leadership team of 5 of us at the company. And these are some of the closest friends I have.
How's that been? Just to talk on that a little bit, because, I work with family, you work with friends. Right. It's like, it can create dynamics.
Oh my God. Yeah. In ways, it's been the best, right? These are, it's a joy to be able to go into work and not have to do the small talk, and at the same time, we've been able to build really great relationships with other people we work with, but to have that foundation already established and know, even if this blew up tomorrow, those would still be 5 of the closest people in my life.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just because we work together that we're close. It gives us that confidence to kind of move through difficult times and say, we'll be all right.
You can't ask for a better situation, really.
And there's no promise that will continue or that will always be the case. But, right now it feels like we have the capacity to, when we hit walls or when we hit disagreements, kind of jump outside the box and say, is there, if it feels like A or B, what's, C, right? What's that third option that no one's putting on the table right now? Because right, if we just look at it as A and B, maybe neither person is willing to compromise, because to do that would be to, cross a line that that would be non-negotiable for them. And it's like, that's a stalemate. And I think a lot of businesses and a lot of partnerships get there where it's like, well, we're just stuck. Guess we can't go anywhere because I'm not going to compromise on this and they're not going to compromise on this. And I think where we've been really lucky is like, whenever we hit that point, step back and say, okay, like, is there a third option that we're not considering, right? And like putting new options on the table has gotten us around a lot of those maybe impasses.
Yeah, I think honestly, your grounded approach, just from the team to the, to the co-founders, and just the way that you sort of internalize what you guys all need. I feel like that's just, it's a really healthy way to approach business that I think a lot of people don't. The plan is solid, it seems, and the team is solid. I'm super pumped to see what you guys end up doing and like what the next steps are, because clearly it seems like there's something coming. So we'll see what it is.
Big things coming. Yeah. Certainly by no means finished yet.
Any last things that you want to cover that people need to know about, about the sandwich, about the ingredients, about Cheese Louise?
On the food and the restaurant business, I think a lot of people tend to focus on, if you're going into the restaurant business, from the outside looking in, you might think it's all about the food. And obviously the food is important, right? Like, we've spent so much time innovating and improving to make a better sandwich. But at the end of the day, I think good food that's your ticket in. But to really find success, it has to be better. It has to be more than that. And it's everything from the ambiance of the experience to the person that greets you when you walk in the door and the person that says, hey, thanks for coming in when you're leaving. Yeah. When those things happen, that's the type of place that people want to come back to. So for us, we focus on the food, and then once that's good, everything else is poured into the experience. It's the hospitality. It's the way that we make you feel when you come in. And I think you see the restaurants that succeed over the long run really focus on that. And like, that could be my only advice to like someone getting into this, is like, nail the food and you're not even close to done. Yeah. That is entry stakes to the restaurant business.
Well, Godspeed, and a whole lot more to come. So
cheers
one
again.
Final one. Cheers. Cheese Louise, Portland, Maine.
Let's go, baby.
There's something powerful about watching a small town idea grow while still staying connected to where it all began. From a summer food truck in North Conway to restaurants in Portland, Boston, and beyond, Cheese Louise shows what can happen when you stick with an idea, treat your people right, and create something amazing, even when that something is as simple and beloved as a grilled cheese. I'm Nick Landano, and this is Rooted.